My friends, today I want to share something that may surprise you, something that can truly change the way you think about food, health, and the simple choices you make every single day. We're going to talk about 9 foods that you should never refrigerate, and more importantly, we'll dive into why understanding this is not just about keeping flavors alive, but about protecting your body, boosting your health, and helping you live with more energy and vitality as the years pass. Too many times we assume that the refrigerator is a safe haven for everything. But not all foods belong there. And if you've ever wondered why some things taste bland, spoil faster, or lose their power to nourish you, it could be because they've been tucked away in the cold when they thrive best in the open air. The way we store food is more than a kitchen habit. It's a reflection of how we treat our bodies. When you pause to think about it, every choice you make with food is a silent message to yourself about how much you value your health, your energy, and your future. Most people don't give much thought to whether something belongs in the refrigerator or on the counter. But this simple action can mean the difference between food that nourishes deeply and food that has lost its strength. Imagine biting into a tomato that's been left to ripen naturally on the counter, bursting with flavor and color, compared to one that has been dulled and made mealy by the cold. That difference is not just in taste, it's in nutrition, vitality, and the way your body receives what it needs. When you take the time to honor food's natural state, you are practicing respect for your own body. Seniors especially benefit from this kind of awareness. As the years pass, your body thrives less on processed shortcuts and more on whole, vibrant foods that are handled with care. Storing food properly is not just about making it last longer, it is about keeping alive the natural enzymes, antioxidants, and protective compounds that your body craves. Potatoes that stay in a cool, dry place provide stable energy without spiking your blood sugar. Garlic kept dry, and in the open stays potent and filled with compounds that fight inflammation. Honey resting in the pantry remains liquid, golden, and healing for digestion and immunity. These are not small details. These are life-giving choices. Food is one of the most intimate connections we have with nature. It grows from the earth, absorbs the sun, and carries the very essence of life into our kitchens. To treat it carelessly is to break that bond, but to care for it wisely is to say, I want this life force to flow into me at its strongest. When you keep your olive oil in a dark cabinet, instead of chilling it in the fridge, you preserve its richness, its heart-protecting oils, its anti-inflammatory power. When you keep bread in a bread box, rather than chilling it into staleness, you preserve comfort, texture, and joy. These little things add up to a big difference in how your meals feel and how your body responds. There is a spiritual side to this too. How we handle food mirrors, how we handle ourselves. If we rush, we often strip things of their essence. If we confine what should be open and breathing, it loses strength. But if we give space, if we allow things to rest where they are meant to, life becomes fuller. This applies to seniors more than anyone, because the choices you make each day define the quality of the years ahead. By respecting food, you practice respect for your body, reminding yourself that you deserve health, vibrancy, and the full expression of life's flavors. It's not just about tomatoes or onions or bananas. It's about treating your body with the same care, patience, and reverence you give to the foods you keep in your home. Not all foods belong in the refrigerator, and understanding this truth can transform the way you experience meals and the way your body benefits from them. So often we think the refrigerator is the safest place for everything, a guarantee that food will last longer and stay fresh. But in reality, cold temperatures can strip certain foods of their flavor, their texture, and even the nutrients that make them valuable for your health. Tomatoes, potatoes, garlic, bananas, onions, honey, bread, coffee, and olive oil are prime examples. Each of these foods loses something vital when placed in the cold, and each of them carries a lesson about how life itself thrives when allowed to remain in its natural environment. For seniors especially, who depend on nutrient-rich diets to maintain strength, energy, and resilience, these choices matter more than most people realize. Think about a tomato. Its skin and flesh are delicate, filled with antioxidants like lycopene that protect your heart and your cells. In the refrigerator, the cold damages its structure, making it grainy, tasteless, and far less enjoyable. Left on the counter, however, it continues to ripen and grow richer in color, taste, and nutrition. That simple act of letting it rest where it belongs turns a bland bite into a burst of vitality. Potatoes are another food that suffer in the refrigerator, where the cold turns their starches into sugar, altering both flavor and health value. Kept in a cool, dark cupboard, they remain firm and safe, offering steady energy without harmful changes. Small choices like these not only enhance flavor, but also protect your body from unnecessary risks. Garlic is a natural medicine, bursting with compounds that strengthen immunity and protect the heart. When refrigerated, it sprouts quickly, becomes bitter, and loses its powerful qualities. When stored at room temperature, it breathes, it remains alive, and it continues to offer its benefits to your body. Bananas too tell a similar story. Place them in the fridge, and their skin turns black. Their ripening process is interrupted, and their natural sweetness fades. Yet when left on the counter, they ripen gently, filling you with potassium and fiber that support muscles, digestion, and energy. For seniors who seek stability and strength, these small details mean meals that energize instead of weigh down onions. When chilled, grow soft and spoil quickly, and their strong oils can even affect the food around them. Kept in a dry, ventilated space, they stay crisp, flavorful, and full of compounds that promote circulation and vitality. Honey hardens in the fridge, losing its smooth golden flow, but kept at room temperature. It remains pure, soothing, and everlasting. Bread dries out in the refrigerator, turning stale before its time. While stored properly in a bread box or freezer, it retains its comfort and softness. Coffee beans lose their oils and aromas in the cold, but protected in a sealed container away from light, they reward you with rich flavor that makes every sip more meaningful. Olive oil, perhaps the most precious of them all, solidifies in the fridge and loses its silky consistency. Yet left in a dark cabinet, it preserves its anti-inflammatory power, its heart benefits, and its smooth, rich taste. When you realize that these 9 foods thrive outside the refrigerator, you also realize something deeper. Nature has already designed them to hold their power, to stay vibrant when given the right environment. Our job is simply to honor that wisdom. Seniors especially can see the connection between respecting food's natural state and respecting their own natural rhythms. Just as food is not meant to be confined to a cold place where it loses its essence, neither are you meant to withdraw from the warmth of life. Proper storage is more than a kitchen tip. It is a philosophy of care, a way to ensure that every meal you prepare gives back to you the fullness of flavor, energy, and healing that nature intended. It is proof that when we listen to life's simple lessons, the rewards are always richer, healthier, and more joyful. Small mindful choices, like how we keep our food, add up to big results for seniors. At first, it may seem trivial to wonder whether garlic sits on the counter or in the fridge, or whether bread belongs in the freezer or a bread box. But these little decisions compound over time in ways that affect your health, your energy, and your joy in eating. Food is not simply a fuel to keep us moving. It is alive with nutrients, flavors, and textures that our bodies depend on, especially as we grow older. When you make a conscious effort to store foods in the places where they preserve their strength, you are giving yourself the gift of nourishment that is full, complete, and aligned with how nature intended. Every meal then becomes more than a bite to satisfy hunger. It becomes an act of caring for yourself, of saying yes to a body that still deserves strength, vitality, and pleasure. Think of how different life feels when you eat food that truly tastes the way it should. A tomato left to ripen on the counter is juicy and flavorful, bursting with compounds that support your heart. Garlic that has not been dulled by refrigeration still carries the full aroma and power that help protect your immune system. Bread stored with care remains soft, comforting, and a reminder of the warmth of tradition. None of these differences are monumental on their own, but together they shape your experience of food and the way your body responds to it. Seniors often feel that age is something that limits them, but in truth it is often small unconscious habits that create unnecessary fatigue or discomfort. By becoming mindful of something as simple as food storage, you begin to regain control over the little details that elevate your quality of life. Nutrition for older adults is about consistency, not extremes. It is not one single superfood or one single change that keeps you strong, but the daily rhythm of small actions that add up. When you store potatoes in a cool, dry place instead of the refrigerator, you are protecting their natural balance so that your body digests them more easily. When you keep honey in your pantry rather than chilling it, you allow it to remain smooth, ready to soothe your throat or add a gentle sweetness without processed sugar. These decisions may seem tiny, but the rewards are noticeable. Better digestion, more natural energy, and meals that bring genuine satisfaction instead of disappointment. There is also a deeper emotional side to these mindful choices. Taking care of food is an act of taking care of yourself. It reminds you that you are worthy of meals that nourish, worthy of flavors that delight, and worthy of living with intention rather than rushing through life without thought. Seniors especially benefit from slowing down, from finding meaning in daily rituals, and from understanding that their habits shape their future. Just as food needs the right environment to thrive, so do we. Small mindful acts of respect, whether toward the food on your counter or the way you treat your body, create a ripple effect that touches every part of your health and every part of your life. Food is not just fuel, it is medicine, memory, and connection. Each bite we take carries more than calories. It carries the story of where it came from, the healing compounds nature placed within it, and the emotions tied to how it is shared. When we see food only as something to fill our stomachs, we miss its deeper power. For seniors especially, food becomes a cornerstone of health and well-being, a daily opportunity to protect the body, uplift the spirit, and strengthen bonds with others. To treat food simply as fuel is to reduce it to a mechanical act. But when you see it as medicine, you realize that every ingredient is an ally in supporting your heart, your brain, your bones, and your immune system. Garlic protecting circulation, olive oil calming inflammation, honey soothing digestion. These are not just flavors, they are gifts designed to keep you strong and balanced as you age. Food is also memory. A slice of bread fresh from the oven carries the scent of childhood kitchens, family meals, and traditions passed down. A bowl of ripe tomatoes on the counter reminds you of gardens, sunshine, and the comfort of summer. Meals connect us to moments in time, to loved ones we may have shared a table with, and to the culture and roots that shaped us. For seniors, these memories are especially powerful because they anchor the past to the present. When you choose to store and prepare food in ways that preserve its richness, you are also preserving the threads of memory that tie generations together. Eating becomes more than chewing and swallowing. It becomes a way to keep stories alive and to relive moments that made life meaningful. Food is also connection. It draws people together in ways nothing else can. Sharing a cup of coffee prepared with beans, stored carefully for their aroma, or drizzling golden olive oil over a salad that has not lost its essence in the fridge, creates an experience of warmth and companionship. Seniors often face loneliness, and one of the most powerful antidotes is the act of gathering around food, whether with family, neighbors, or friends. By treating food with care, by ensuring it tastes alive and whole, you create meals worth sharing, meals that invite others to join in and strengthen bonds that feed not just the body, but also the heart. When you look at food as medicine, memory, and connection, you begin to see why it matters to protect its natural integrity. The refrigerator may seem like a safe choice, but for certain foods it robs them of flavor, texture, and nutrients, leaving behind something less than it was meant to be. By keeping these foods in the environments where they thrive, you also keep alive the richness of health, the beauty of memory, and the joy of connection. For seniors, this awareness is not just a detail in the kitchen, it is a way of life, a philosophy that turns every meal into a chance to heal, to remember, and to connect. Just as food is meant to breathe and stay alive, so are we. Think about what happens when you place a tomato or a banana in the refrigerator, where it does not belong. The cold halts its natural ripening, dulls its flavor, and in many cases even reduces its nutritional value. That fruit or vegetable is no longer able to fully express itself as nature designed it to. In the same way, when people, especially seniors, confine themselves to routines that keep them isolated or inactive, they too lose vibrancy. Life is not meant to be spent in cold storage. It is meant to be lived with warmth, movement, and connection. The body thrives when given the freedom to breathe, stretch, and stay active, just as food thrives when it is allowed to rest in its natural environment. For older adults, this lesson is especially powerful. The years may bring physical changes, but they do not need to bring stillness or decline in spirit. Each day is an opportunity to move, whether that is through a gentle walk, light stretching, or simply staying engaged with daily tasks that bring joy. Just as onions need air circulation to remain crisp, humans need connection with others to remain emotionally strong. Just as olive oil needs to be kept in the dark to preserve its power, We need to protect our minds with positive thoughts and nurturing habits that shield us from stress. Life and food follow similar rules. Both demand care, attention, and the right environment to remain full of vitality. Seniors sometimes believe that slowing down completely is a natural part of aging. But the truth is that inactivity is much like storing food in the wrong place. It hastens decline. When you move daily, eat mindfully, and stay socially engaged, you give yourself the chance to stay vibrant longer. Just as honey remains smooth and healing when kept at room temperature, the human spirit remains resilient when cared for with warmth, laughter, and companionship. It is not about doing everything you did at 20 or 30, but about finding sustainable rhythms of movement and joy that keep the body flexible and the heart light. Food teaches us that freshness is life, and life teaches us that engagement is strength. Keeping coffee beans in a sealed container helps them retain their aroma, just as keeping the mind stimulated with reading, puzzles, or conversation keeps memory sharp. Bread grows stale in the fridge, yet stays soft and nourishing when treated properly. In the same way, our lives can grow stale if we cut ourselves off from what truly nourishes us: love, curiosity, and a sense of purpose. Seniors who embrace activity, who nurture friendships, and who savor each day are like food stored just right, full of flavor, full of health, and full of energy waiting to be enjoyed. The lesson is clear. Just as we learn to store food in the way that keeps it alive, we must also live in a way that keeps us alive, not merely existing but thriving, breathing, and savoring the richness that life continues to offer at every stage.